Om. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. In our journey into Prashna Upanishad, we are in chapter 4. The current Brahmana in discussion is 4.4. From 4.2 to 4.5, the mind and pranas together cause the dream state as well as the sleeping state is being discussed. The exact nature of the deep sleep state is initiated in the Brahmana 4.5, but a detailed discussion about it will proceed from verses as Brahmana 6 to 9. We will see that later in the next session or so. Okay. Brahmanas 10 and 11 is utilizing this knowledge of this prana in this manner. That is the essential summary of what we are going to see. Next slide, please. Can you bring up the next slide? The uniqueness of Prashnopanishad is that it starts, though not directly, but in an intuitive manner, with Brahman, the all-pervading essential truth. That Brahman, as though manifesting its own power, called Maya, the power to conjecture, became to be known and called as Ishvara. And when Ishvara meditated upon his own knowledge, which is Veda, he conceived of this total mind, and associated with that mind, he became Hiranyagarbha. That Hiranyagarbha was identified as Prajapati in this Upanishad, and that Prajapati, as though, became two principles: the prana, the energy, and Rai, the matter. The interplay between these two happening in the total cosmic mind created space and time. The gross world also came from that. The individual beings were part of this gross creation. Actions being performed by sentient beings and the results they beget results either in liberation or bondage. And this Upanishad postulates that it is bondage which leads one to propagate a lineage of progeny. The individual's greatest expression is the availability and expression of prana as sentiency in the individual being. And this sentiency exhibits in the individual through an expression of the indriyas, karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, along with the mind. It is the mind which is a repository for the desires and thoughts, which is holding and binding this prana as though inside the individual. The pranas, in its 5 physiological forms, supports all the functions of the body. In fact, it energizes the body to behave as an individual. This spawned the 4th query in this Upanishad as to what is the various kind of experiences you have outlined. Yes, we know that there is the waking world experience, but then what about the dream experience and the deep sleep experience? Who is enjoying it? Who is experiencing it? Who actually goes to sleep and who remains awake even when we are sleeping? And who's supporting all these functions? So from the absolute Brahman, which is I, the you today, you have to conceive of all this as your history. You, XYZ, in this webinar is Brahman who has descended to this level and making a query to yourself as to who has created all these states, etc. for me and who is supporting it. The answer would be yes, you yourself. But in English, when you say you yourself are supporting all these states and experience, it looks such a plain statement. That I already know, but I'm trying to understand who really did. And the Upanishad will say, yes, really, you only did it. But in order to drive home that point, all this discussion from Brahman, Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, Prana, Rai, everything is done to bring your awareness to something that is in you and pervading through you into the entire Jagat. And in order to be in touch with that, you have to give up your limited identity that you are a prana, a pranic person residing inside this body. And that is why the Upanishad is taking up the discussion of how to understand your existence beyond this limitedness that is conferred on you by your own imagination, and also how to transcend the experiences that we are going through, which actually is binding us. In the Brahmana 2 and 3 of this particular chapter, we have seen the answer to who sleeps. And therein we saw that it is the sense organs withdrawn into the mind which goes to sleep. And like the Agnihotra fire into which ahutis are offered, the three pranas continue to receive oblations even during sleep. That also we discussed in the last session. The next Brahmana 4.4 continues with the remaining two pranas which are awake, while the individual is sleeping. And the comparison again continues with the fire ritual known as Agnihotra Homa. Next slide, please. यदुच्छ्वास निश्वास एतौ आहुति समं नयतीति स समानः मनोहावाव यजमानः इष्टाफलमेवा उदानः स एनं यजमानं महरः ब्रह्म गमयति. Yad, that which, Uchvasa Nishvasau, breathing in and breathing out. Uchvasa is breathing in, Nishvasa is breathing out. Swasa means breathing. Uchvasa is to intake the breath, and Nishvasa is to let go of the breath, which is breathing out. Etau, these two, Ahuti, compared to the oblations in the Agnihotra Yaga, Samam, equitably, Nayati leads them. Iti, it is Saha, that one, Samanaha, which is known as Samana Vayu. Manaha, mind, he indeed, Va, verily, Eva, only, Yajamanaha, the master, the one who is performing the sacrifice. So in every sacrifice, there is a Yajamana. And Manas here is considered as the Yajamana for this sacrificing activity, which is taking place even in deep sleep. Ishtaphalam, the fruit of that yajna, eva is alone, udanaha, udanavayu. Saha, it, enam, this one, who, yajamanam, the individual, mind, aharaha, each day, at night in deep sleep, Brahma, Brahman, Gamayati takes him to. So every night, without Vedanta studies, we are being taken to Brahman. And because we don't have the Vedantic study, our sleep is very different from a Jnani sleep. We are in touch with Brahman, but we do not know that it is Brahman we are in touch with. The tragedy is that right in close proximity to you, you are aware that you are the supreme self, which is the all-pervading truth. But yet, we sleep as if we are an individual and we wake up as an individual. It is because when we go to sleep, we are an individual, and when we wake up, we are an individual. So, in between, naturally, we must have been an individual, is the assumption we make. If that assumption is given up, you will realize you are the supreme truth, and this waking and the dreaming and the limited understanding you have of yourself is the falsity in this whole exercise. So, the deep sleep is your real state, and the waking and dreaming are illusory conjectures on your part. Since Samana Vayu maintains the rhythm of inhalation and exhalation of breath, in our breathing in and breathing out is regulated by the Samana Vayu actually. Whatever that helps our digestion in system in us, which is actually absorbing the nutrients and distributing them evenly, that alone is controlling your intake of breath and expelling of breath. That is why when your internal system is disturbed, you start breathing faster. But you will notice that there is a rhythm. Exact time you spend for inhalation and exhalation is predetermined. And since Samanavayu is controlling it, it is compared to the Hota, the priest in Agnihotra Yajna, who maintains the time element between two oblations, which together count as one Ahuti. So an Ahuti is not just once. In case of Agnihotra, two Ahutis will make one particular cycle. And that cycle is maintained by a specific priest who is known as Hota. He's the one he will do this activity of bringing his hand down. That is when the Yajamana has to pour the oblation in synchronous with the mantras that are chanted during the Agnihotra. The mind is here compared to the Yajaman, who is the Karta or the performer of the Agnihotra ritual. It is the mind that is actually going through this process where pranas can continue to function even while the mind is becoming quiet and withdrawn. Just as the Yajman withdraws himself from all activities and focuses only on the activity of performing the yajna, so too the mind withdraws from all other activities and sits down quietly in deep sleep. That is the comparison. The fruits of a yajna, whenever you do a yajna, typically Agnihotra yajna is being done for the welfare of the individual. May I get lot of wealth, may I get cows, may I get horses, etc. Were the prayers. In the same way, when you are in this Agnihotra, which is called waking and deep sleep activity within yourself, the fruits of this yajna is compared to Udhana Vayu here. Why? See, whenever we have a particular fruit for an yajna, the power of the yajna will actually carry you to that desired fruit. If you do Swarga Kama Yajna, meaning I am interested in going to heaven, and when you do it properly, the power of the yajna will take you to that particular Swargaloka. If you have Putra Kameshti yajna, then that power of that yajna will get you children who are very famous and namesake for you. So each yajna has got an ishta phala, meaning the one which is desired by the yajman, that phala is to be stated. That is why in yajnas, before you start the yajna, there is a sankalpa which we do. All of you who have seen that would have heard the priest say sankalpa. He does the sankalpa for us, actually. We don't do it. But when he says that if you observe, you will sign, at the end, there will be a portion where you will say, may I get good children, may I get kirti, may I get wealth, etc., etc. That is the ishtaphala of every yajna. So the fruits of this yajna, which is called waking and sleeping and etc., it is the Udhana Vayu which takes the sleeping individual every night to Brahman. That is what this Brahmana is trying to tell us. So the result, the purpose of deep sleep is to be connected with your absolute self. What a poetic and poignant message from an Upanishad, right? And a simple activity called sleep, it has been divinized in this Brahmana itself. Such a wonderful expression. Actually, reading it itself for the first time, I was taken aback. I've studied this Upanishad during the course time. But when I started reading in depth the commentaries related to this, it's mind blowing actually. Such a concept is only possible by our great Mahatmas, and how gifted we are to jointly study it today, right? Next slide, please. Let's go into the deeper purport of this Upanishad. Brahmana. The two oblations consisting of Uchvasa and Nishvasa, inhaling and exhaling, form the two Ahutis of the Agnihotra sacrifice, as it were. Not really, it's just a comparison. Just because Uchvasa and Nishvasa are a pair, and in Agnihotra, two Ahutis form a pair. Therefore, they are being compared. And the two Ahutis inside Agnihotra Yajna have to be evenly spaced. You cannot say, I'll do one quickly and then wait for a few minutes, then pour an extra ahuti. There must be a rhythm to it. Those who have done Agnihotra or know about it will know better. The rhythm is maintained by a priest in this Agnihotra Yajna who is known as Hotha. And this priest will ensure that the rhythm is maintained. Samam nayati iti sa samanaha. The vital function in our body called samana vayu strikes the balance forever between edo ahuti, these two breathing in and breathing out, is maintained by the samana vayu in us only. Even though when we say breathing is called prana, but it is the samana vayu which is balancing out the breathing in and breathing out function. The intermediately time gap between breathing in and breathing out is maintained by samana vayu. So that the body is properly maintained. Too much of intake and less of exhausting will result in a kind of a lung puncture. Vice versa, limited intake and a prolonged expulsion of breath will make us feel tired sooner because we are not getting enough oxygen. So that balance between how much to breathe and how long to breathe and how to breathe out is maintained by Samana Vayu. Therefore, it is called here the priest, the Hota, because of similarity in orchestrating the oblations like a priest. That is the comparison between Samana Vayu and the Agnihotra, Hota priest controlling the yajna. Manoha Vava Yajamanaha. It is the mind that is the performer of this sacrifice yajna. It is the mind that is intent on going to Brahman, just as one would reach heaven as a result of Agnihotra sacrifice. The mind keeps orchestrating the receipt of oblations by the external organs and their objects as they are poured into the wakeful fires of the prana. The mind is the one which is observing the sense organs bringing in external impulses, sense impulses, and pouring it into the prana. The actual consumption of the sense impulses is the prana in the presence of the mind, and the mind observing this yajna being performed by prana becomes the yajamana. Meaning the one who is desiring this function to take place, the desires reside in the mind. Correct? Therefore, mind is the yajamana for this ritual which is taking place in our waking state as the sense organs bring in impulses and deliver it to the pranagni, which is the various pranas. And at night, after the waking experiences, ahutis are over, one particular prana takes this mind to Brahman. That is what is the Brahmana trying to compare. Your own mind is watching the ahuti of the indriyas, bringing in the external impulses and pouring it into your pranagni. Which pranagni? The pranagni which is responsible for karmendriya and jnanendriya. So if I take a quiz, all of you will answer. It is prana. Which prana? Mukhya prana as well as the first prana, upaprana. We saw that already in the previous chapter itself. That prana which is receiving all these ahutis and everything and absorbing is witnessed by the mind as the karta. I am doing it, bhava is there in the mind, right? The mind says, I am observing all this taking place. What is really taking place? The external impulses are dumped into your pranagni, that's all. And you have to keep at the back of your mind, who is prana? Prana is connected to, take the chain all the way back and understand it is Brahman. That external sense impulses, which are also created by Brahman through the Rai path, are traveling through the BMI to the particular prana inside. There is a cycle that is getting completed from Brahman to Brahman only. At this point, if you notice it, this is a very profound statement. What we are experiencing today is from Brahman to Brahman is becoming clear by this. This ahuti that is taking place from external objects, people, and experiences through the BMI to the pranas inside. And the prana is Atman actually in this individual is being witnessed by the mind, but the mind says, I am doing it because I am the Yajaman, even though it's being done by somebody else. And because the mind says, I am doing it, mind is taken by the power of this ahutis to a state of realizing a higher nature of itself, which is Brahman. It gets to see Brahman, and there is one Vayu which is called Udhana Vayu, which is taking this individual mind to Brahman every night. What more do we need to know? Nothing, right? Next slide. Ishta palameva udanaha sa enam yajamanam aharaha brahmam gamayati. Every night, this result of the sacrifice, this ahutis we are doing every day, and when we get exhausted of it, we are taken to Brahman actually. Because Brahman is very pleased that you have done this activity to make myself be known by myself. And therefore, as a prasada, I am taking you to me. I am taking this mind, which is also Brahman again, to myself. And the mind foolishly thinks it is going somewhere deep sleeping, that's all. It does not know it is in touch with Brahman. The result is for the desirer. The Ishtaphalam is one who is desiring for result. For him, this happens. The one who confers this result on the desirer is called Udhana, which is called the vital function in us, which is Udhana Vayu. Because in the case of individual, the achievement of result of sacrifice depends upon Udhana Vayu. Therefore, it is called Ishtaphalam. During the time of sleep, this Udana, Aharaha, every day, Gamayati means leads. It also goes and takes the mind along with it. Enam Ejamanam, the one who is performing the sacrifice, herein called the mind, to Brahman, the immutable, as though to heaven. Like one would aim for heavens, which is a higher state. This Udana is taking this mind to Brahman, which is the immutable state of oneself, after causing the mind to cease from even the dream activities. After actually stopping the dream activity, then only this happens. Hence, Udana takes the place of the result of sacrifice, Ishtaphalam. So the whole Brahmana becomes clear. Now we have to discuss very carefully about this because everybody is sleeping. What is the difference between the knower of Brahman and the person who is not knowing, like all of us? Ignorant man and the enlightened man, both of them go to sleep. But in the case of an enlightened man, when he sleeps, through this knowledge of prana which has gone deeply into him, he is aware that what happens in deep sleep is a result of that ahutis that the pranas has received. So basically, understand that my going to deep sleep is something that is happening because of the external sense impulses have dumped their content to the pranas in me. And he says that prana in me is the representation of the immutable self. That is me again. So he is aware that he himself is pranas to whom these impulses have dumped their content, which is none other than another form of Brahman. Brahman as Rai has become the external objects, and Brahman as prana is now absorbing it. That's all. It is like Krishna and Radha coming together. That's all. Both of them are same divine principle. What a wonderful explanation, right? And this is keep, it is also happening in deep sleep. And this is the ultimate truth he knows. Now, the ignorant man, because he is identified with his mind, and the mind is actually going into a withdrawn state, he assumes that he is going into a withdrawn state. That is the difference between the two. And he says that I did not know anything, I did not experience anything, I slept well. A wise man will proclaim, I was witnessing the ahuti of the senses into pranagni while I was awake. While not I was awake, he was always awake. He says, while this mind was awake, the pranagni was receiving ahutis from sense organs, and in deep sleep, the mind was led to me, the Brahman, and in ignorance, the ego was claiming that it did not know my proximity. That is how he will look at it. What a difference between an approach of thinking itself. Now, all this is only poetic. Please do not assume the Brahman is thinking and Brahman will speak and all that, because there's no transaction possible in that way. But to get your mind away from this incorrect thinking, I'm giving you a reference to Brahman as though knows. But the awareness of Brahman transcends all thoughts. It is not through a thought he is going to say, I was experiencing myself. Then it will become equal to a mind. That's all, right? It will not transcend the mind. So even though I have given you a figurative picture to drive home a point, drop the point. You have to understand in Brahman, nothing is happening. All this is a conjecture that is projected to make you understand where you have to park yourself in. If you park yourself in the conjecture, you will continuously go through this cycle of progeny, creation, suffering, etc. If you park yourself in that immutable Brahman, you are liberated forever. That is the message we have to take from all this Upanishad. Next slide, please. अत्रेष देहस्वप्ने महिमानम् अनुभवति यदृष्टं दृष्टम् अनुपश्यति श्रुतं श्रुतमेवार्थम् अनुशृणोति देशदिगन्तरश्च देशदिगन्तरैश्च प्रत्य अनुभूतं पुनः पुनः प्रत्यनुभवति दृष्टं च दृष्टं च श्रुतं च श्रुतं च अनुभूतं च अननुभूतं च सच्च असच्च सर्वं पश्यति सर्वः पश्यति. Atra therein, Eshaha, this Devaha, deity, the mind, Swapne, in this dream state, Mahimanam, greatness, Anubhavati, experiences. Yad Drishtam, whatever was seen, Drishtam Anupashyati, it sees again. Shrutam, whatever was heard before, Shrutam eva Artam Anushrunoti, it hears again. Desha Dig Digantaraischa, whatever was perceived in the different places and directions, Pratyanubhutam, it experiences. Punaha punaha, again and again. Pratyanubhavati, it perceives all by becoming all of that. Drishtam cha, adrishtam cha, that which was seen or not seen. Shrutam cha, ashrutam cha, heard or not heard. Anubhutam cha, ananubhutam cha, experienced or not experienced. And such cha, asach cha, whatever is real or unreal. Sarvam pashyati, sarvaha pashyati. It sees all by becoming all. In this dream state, the deity which we are now discussing is the mind, experiences greatness. Whatever was seen, it sees again. Whatever was heard, it hears again. And whatever was perceived in the different places and direction, it experiences again and again. It perceives all by becoming all. And that was seen or not seen, heard or not heard, perceived or not perceived, and whatever is real or unreal, everything it perceives in the dream state. Now the discussion has started to, from the deep sleep, it has moved to who is seeing the dream, right? So that question is being answered in this Brahmana, which is the fifth Brahmana. Next slide, please. Adrisha Devaha Swapne. In this state of dream, when the senses such as hearing, etc., cease to function. We remember we all have withdrawn the senses, but the mind has not yet gone to sleep. Mind is still awake, but the senses are withdrawn from their functions. The vital forces counting from prana, etc., keep awake for the maintenance of this body in this intermediate state, that is, between waking and deep sleep. Before entering into deep sleep, Bhagavan Shankaracharya clarifies. Devaha, this deity, the mind that has withdrawn into itself from all organs such as ear, etc., like the rays of the setting sun, which we saw in the previous Brahmana itself. Anubhavati experiences, that is, it undergoes Mahimanam, greatness, etc., consisting of, it assumes different forms of dream subject and dream objects. Then Purva Pakshi, the one who is typically a person who should question, he does this question on our behalf. We ourselves cannot think of such question because the primary thing itself is very difficult for us to grasp where we'll have questions. But in order to assail all doubts that can arise in future, how can mind see? Because we have already said it is an inert organ. So much of Vedanta we have studied. So when you say mind sees, it says, is it not the indwelling jiva who is actually seeing all this? Is the question. Because we have some knowledge of jiva and some knowledge of mind already in our mind. So we say, no, no, mind cannot see, it is inert. So therefore it must be the jiva who is seeing. That is a question that is raised, for which the answer from Advaitin is, this is not an issue. Don't think it's a big question. Don't worry. As per Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, fourth chapter, third Brahmana, seventh verse, being associated with the mind and being identified with the dream, it is the jiva who thinks as it were and it shakes as it were. Basically, it is the jiva which is getting affected by whatever is going through in our mind. Inasmuch as the jiva truly by itself does not in reality either dream or remain awake, but because of its association with the mind, the wakefulness and the dream are caused by the mind, and that is taken by the jiva to be its experience. That is why we all believe the jiva is experiencing, mind is only an instrument. But the reality is, all that is happening only in the mind. It is because as a jiva, we have associated our identity with the mind. We think we are going through the dream. Then immediately the Purvapakshi says, how can we say then such a jiva is self-effulgent if the mind is also independently seeing? Next question. He says, if you say mind can independently see, then why is the need for jiva, right? Very intelligent questions they ask. Anyway, Jiva, in essence, is the true self-effulgent knowledge and awareness principle. Okay, unaffected by whatever is happening in the dream. The mind is borrowing this effulgence from the jiva at one end and connecting it with the experience at the other end, like the water which is shaking is borrowing the reflection of the sun and projects it on its surface. At the other end, it is actually shaking. Combining it, we get an experience in the mind as if it is going through experiences which are brought in by the dreaming mind. So he says it is the mind which is borrowing this unchanging effulgence of a jiva, who is in essence Brahman alone, and shaking with it, it creates an effect as though you are shaking. It's like this. I sit in front of a video camera and let us say my video camera is faulty. It will start showing all kind of imaginary pictures. It look as if I am shaking, correct? Now when I do this, you'll see my camera does all kind of funny things. Now, it is not that I am doing all that. I am not doing anything. But the effect, combining my reflection with the effect of this camera, I produce some other effect different from what it is originally. And that is what mind does. Next slide, please. How the mind experiences its divine manifestation is being said. Being, we said it is Mahimanam, correct? Being under the influence of impressions of any objects that we have experienced. Yad drishtam, which was seen earlier, drishtam anupashyati, sees it or it thinks through ignorance that it is seeing the visions resembling the object called upon by the impressions of that object in our mind. So what it is doing, it is just revisiting the memory of objects which had seen earlier, and it thinks it is seeing the object again. That is what is happening in our dream. Really, we are not seeing anything. We are only revisiting a memory of an object which was present in our memory. An impression of it was there, and we revisit that impression and think we are actually seeing the object. And Shrutam, whatever was heard before, Anushrunoti, it seems to hear it again, called by the impressions of that hearing. So the sound in our dream, the vision in our dream, are all revisiting memory cells which contain those informations. So whatever Desha Dig Antaraishi Pratyanibhutam, experienced as belonging to different places, different quarters. This was my east side in my dream. This was my west side in my dream. All impressions. Really, the mind is not experiencing an east or west, but they are created for you by revisiting those memories, which defines directions, etc. So that which was drishtam, adrishtam, that is to say that that which was experienced in this birth in the past, or adrishtam, meaning it was not seen in this birth, but it was seen in some other birth in the past. That is why we are not able to cogently connect our dreams to a real world experience. Sometimes we get experiences which we never experienced in this world, right? In our dreams, it happened. It is because some of those deeper impressions from many janmas are carried forward in our dreams and they are exhausted in our dream in this month, in this janma. Dreams are a means to exhaust vasanas without hurting ourselves through external activity. So, in a way, dreams are a blessing. Those who are dreaming, now you can pat yourself on the back because dreaming is the means to exhaust it. And dreams is the safest means to do it because you're not interfering with anybody except yourself. But it is not the reality. Our goal is to go and penetrate into deep sleep and realize that we are not deep sleeping, we are actually awake. That is the reality we are seeking. Okay. So likewise, Sat and Asat, that which is false. For example, water in a mirage is false. So we will visit a mirage water in our dream. That is false. And we will also visit a water pond in our dream, which is real. Both are we are dreaming. Okay. That is what is called Sat and Asat. Sarvam Pashyati sees all, and then it actually becomes all because the mind is pervading all those experiences. It is not like externally they were there somewhere. It is the mind alone which has transformed into each of those experiences by itself and it pervades it. Therefore, this mind is called Mahimanam. It's the greatest thing. It itself has become the vision, it itself has become the visionary. Both are one in a mind which is dreaming. Same way Brahman is doing it for us while we are awake. You must understand that the same Brahman which was the all pervading truth has become the individual Jiva going through all the experiences in this world is the summary of this drama. Next slide, please. Sa yada tejas स यदा तेजसा अभिभूतो भवति अत्रैष देवः स्वप्नान् पश्यति अत तदैस्मिन् तत एतस्मिन् शरीरे तत्सुखं भवति सः that yada when tejasa abhibhuto overwhelmed by light bhavati becomes is atra therein eshah this devah deity jiva swapnan na swapnan na not dreams pashyati sees tatha then at that point etasmin in this sharire body etat this sukham happiness bliss bhavati occurs. When the deity the mind becomes overwhelmed by the solar rays called bile, then in this state the deity does not see dreams. Then at that time there occurs a kind of happiness in this body is one translation. But there was a better translation which I came across, which I am sharing also here with you. When that deity, the mind, is in a state of exhausted power, then in this state, the deity, the jiva, does not see dreams. Then at that time, there occurs a kind of bliss in this body. This translation is a little bit better. I will tell you why it is when we go into the details of this Brahma. Next slide, please. Sa yada tejasa abhibhuto bhavati. When tejasa by the light, by the solar light called bile, says Bhagavan Shankaracharya, that is lodged in the nerves, they actually go and flog the mind, and Saha, the deity called mind, becomes completely abhibhutaha, overwhelmed, meaning that the doors for visiting our tendencies are shut off. Basically, wherever the memory cells which contain our past experiences as impressions, if they are shut off, the mind switches off and they are shut off by the power of the light. Solar light is what Bhagavan Shankaracharya is explaining, a very good explanation. Then the rays, the reflected consciousness of the mind in its state of rest. You remember the mind has got borrowed consciousness. That is called reflected consciousness. That goes to a state of rest. Together with the dormant senses, gets collected in our core personality of ourselves. Very deep. We never even knew that such a place exists. We visit that place. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says the mind in sleep is like a fire dormant in an inflammable wood. Meaning, it says it exists in the body, pervading it as a whole in the form of general consciousness or a kind of awareness, as opposed to particular consciousness of this or that, something or the other. So when we are conscious of something or the other, we are in waking state. But when we are only in the general consciousness without particular awareness, that he calls is the mind in deep sleep. Very interesting observations and worth discussing and prolonging a discussion. I'm not going to go into the deepness of it. I'm giving you the pointers to do a contemplation. Atraisha devaha swapna na pashyati. At this time, Eshaha, this Deva, deity, meaning the luminous one, called the mind, because the mind is now reflection of consciousness, is Both the mind and the jiva are indicated here by the term deva. Deva here means not just the mind. It is the combination of mind and the reflected consciousness together. Nasapnan pashyati is not seeing any dreams. And he says the doors of the dream vision, which is referring to past tendencies, have been closed by the light. Here, the beauty of it is if you say it is closed by light, we can take it as the jiva's reflection of itself in the mind is the light, meaning Atma Darshan is actually happening, and that light switches off the vision towards past tendencies. That is an anubhuti of Brahman itself. That is what is a good reading also. So, when this mind is perceiving itself as being only the reflected consciousness, the light and the power of that consciousness shuts off everything else. A good reading, but mind is a combination of two. It has got consciousness at one side and the matter at the other end. So you cannot simply take it that way. That is where the confusion will come as to understanding what this light means. So, but what happens when that light pervades us? A kind of bliss is what we feel in deep sleep, which remains undisturbed. Next slide will make it clear. See, it is overcome by the power. In the original, the word is Tejasa, which means light as well as a power. So if you take it as light, it refers to the light of consciousness. If you take it as power, it refers to something else other than the mind, which is overpowering it. Okay, both meanings are possible in that one word, Tejasa. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says light of the sun, which is called Chitta, and is in the nerves, and that is the one which is switching off the connection to the past memories, and therefore we can accept it. But if you consider it as two factors which are there to explain deep sleep, a better understanding comes. First is a power of ignorance. Okay, the mind itself ordinarily is conceived as self-effulgent light, even though it has borrowed its light from Brahman, it lights up everything that it comes in contact with. But in deep sleep, that self effulgence of the mind is overpowered by, for some time, by some other power, which Bhagavan Shankaracharya says nature outside the world or a feature inside the body. Nature outside the world means darkness outside. So usually we go to sleep when the lights become switched off. You've seen that when you switch off your room, put dark curtains, we'll all go to sleep. Easier. And if there's a bright light shining on your face, you cannot sleep that well. So the outside circumstances known as nature and your own body getting physically exhausted is a feature which puts it into a tamasic state outside and inside, and that state causes sleep is one way of understanding it. Another way of understanding is the power of Atma. The body being exhausted by spending the borrowed light of consciousness through the sense experiences, and the mind also gets exhausted by its projected dream experiences, is overpowered by the light of consciousness alone, which remains ever shining. That is another way of looking at it, which is also good. The mind immerses itself into this Atma, but does not particularly experience this Atma. It just has an awareness of this Atma in you. And so, even though it is aware, it is its own very self. Due to its ignorance, it, however, experiences its nature as merely tranquil. Nothing else it is able to feel. And that bliss spreads throughout the body because the mind is pervading the entire body with that understanding. Next slide. I think this is exactly what I wanted to share with you. Good.